Folks, gather round, because we've got a real humdinger of a story for you today. It involves a Chinese company, Serbian taxes, and enough legal loopholes to make your head spin. At the heart of this saga is Shandong Enterprise, a company that waltzed into Serbia promising economic prosperity. Instead, they seem to have brought a whole lot of financial shenanigans. See, Shandong Enterprise is accused of some pretty egregious tax evasion. We're talking about potentially millions of dollars that should have gone to the Serbian people, vanishing into thin air. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, tax evasion? That's about as exciting as watching paint dry. But trust me, folks, this story has twists and turns that would make even the most jaded accountant gasp. We're talking about secret agreements, phantom employees, and a whole lot of finger-pointing. It's a tale of corporate greed, government incompetence, and a system that seems designed to let the powerful get away with anything. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into the murky world of international tax evasion. And let me tell you, it's a lot more entertaining than it sounds. One of the most baffling aspects of this whole mess is how Shandong Enterprise managed to dodge Social Security payments. Now, for those of you lucky enough to have never dealt with this bureaucratic nightmare, Social Security is the money that's supposed to be taken out of your paycheck to fund things like retirement and healthcare. China and Serbia have a special agreement that's supposed to prevent people from paying into both systems. Sounds simple, right?
Well, Shandong Enterprise somehow found a way to exploit this agreement like a teenager finding a glitch in a video game. They allegedly had their Serbian employees pay into both the Chinese and Serbian social security systems. How is that even possible? Well, picture this. A Serbian worker toiling away in a Shandong Enterprise factory sees money deducted from their paycheck for social security. They assume it's going to Serbia, right? Wrong. It turns out a big chunk of that money was allegedly being funneled into the Chinese system instead.
This meant that Serbian workers weren't getting the full benefits they were entitled to, and the Serbian government was being robbed of valuable revenue. It's like ordering a pizza and having half of it delivered to your neighbor while you're left with an empty stomach and a lighter wallet. Now, you might be wondering how Shandong Enterprise managed to pull off this social security switcheroo. Well, it all comes down to loopholes, my friends. Those tiny little clauses in contracts that lawyers love and the rest of us try to ignore. See, the Social Security agreement between China and Serbia, like most international agreements, isn't exactly a model of clarity. There are ambiguities, exceptions, and enough legal jargon to make your eyes glaze over.
And Shandong Enterprise, with their army of high-priced lawyers, apparently found a loophole big enough to drive a truck through. They argued that because their employees were technically working for a Chinese company, they were subject to Chinese social security laws, even though they were physically located in Serbia. It's like ordering a beer in a bar, then claiming you don't have to pay for it because you're technically a citizen of another country. It's a ridiculous argument, but it seems to have worked, at least for a while.
And that, my friends, is the problem with loopholes. They're often perfectly legal, even when they're being used for completely unethical purposes. Section 4. Contractual conundrums, deceiving Serbia on paper. But the Social Security scam was just the tip of the iceberg.
Shandong Enterprise allegedly went to great lengths to deceive the Serbian government, using a whole arsenal of contractual tricks and financial sleight of hand.
We're talking about phantom employees, inflated expenses, and enough creative accounting to make Bernie Madoff blush.
One of their favorite tactics was allegedly to create fake contracts with shell companies. These contracts would show that Shandong Enterprise was paying huge sums of money for goods and services that were never actually provided.
Why would they do this? Well, it allowed them to artificially inflate their expenses and reduce their taxable income. It's like claiming you spent $10,000 on groceries last month when you actually just bought a single banana and a pack of gum.
The Serbian government, either too trusting or too incompetent to notice, apparently accepted these contracts at face value.
And just like that, Shandong Enterprise was able to pocket millions of dollars that should have gone to the Serbian people. It's enough to make you wonder who was really running the show in Serbia, the government, or a bunch of corporate crooks. Section 5. Financial flimflam, how money moves in the shadows. Now, you might be wondering how Shandong Enterprise managed to move all this money around without raising any red flags. Well, that's where things get really shady. We're talking about offshore bank accounts, shell companies, and a whole network of shadowy intermediaries designed to obscure the flow of funds. It's like a game of financial hide and seek, where the goal is to make sure the money never stays in one place long enough to be taxed. It's a complex web of transactions, designed to confuse regulators and make it nearly impossible to track where the money is really going. And let's be clear, this isn't just a Serbian problem. This is a global issue, with companies all over the world using these same tactics to avoid paying their fair share.
It's a system that benefits the wealthy and powerful at the expense of everyone else.
And until we start closing these loopholes and holding these companies accountable, the problem is only going to get worse.